Oh boy. Well, I've been to the movies 3 times this past weekend. As you can tell, I'm wearing an orange shirt because I'm recording this on, okay, I guess it's officially Tuesday here in Sweden, but since Swedes don't really celebrate Halloween, I guess, and America is 6 hours, at least 6 hours away, 6 to 9 hours, there's still Halloween over there, so yeah, orange Halloween shirt is the only orange shirt I own. Anyway, I went to the movies 3 times over this past weekend. I went to see Princess Mononoke, In Time, and Tintin, and I want to give my brief thoughts on these 3 movies. I also realize I haven't made a video about Arkham City, and I really want to do that, but I don't feel like I should bundle that in for those who don't care about video games or those who don't care about movies. So this is strictly the movie recap. I'm not going to go into any deep analysis with these. This video is probably going to end up longer than I want it to anyway, but yeah, gonna get started. Princess Mononoke was the first movie I went to see, and I've already seen this movie probably 20 times without exaggerating. It's probably my favorite anime of all time. I actually had when I went to film school and studied Japanese film specifically, I had a 3-month course in that. We had a special guest lecturer that came in for two lectures to talk about Japanese film, Japanese animation, and he pretty much started off his entire discussion, his entire talk by just saying that Miyazaki isn't anime because it's too Western, like Western-like, and I get that. After his talk, it made a whole lot of sense. The way, and it's true in a lot of ways, is that Miyazaki is very easily, it's not really anime in the grand scale of its narrative. It's like the artistic style is of course anime and everything it is, but. And it taps into Japanese folklore, but in a lot of other ways, at least how he said it, it really made it make sense. For that Miyazaki and Ghibli movies in general are very, very, very easily accessible and are not really anime. As much as I've watched anime, yeah, they are probably the most easily accessible for Western audiences. I don't really want to say any more than that, except that this movie is probably my favorite anime, if you want to call it that, together with a lot of other Miyazaki works. I feel like this movie stands hand in hand with Kiki's Delivery Service as my 2 favorite Miyazaki films, and I guess therefore my 2 favorite animes. I'm not a huge anime guy, but I saw this movie after watching Spirited Away in the theaters when that movie came out here. Right after it had won the Oscar for Best Animated Film, or whatever year that was. I think it was 2004, maybe? 2003 or 2004. And I just bought it at a local science fiction bookstore that also sells movies and stuff. And I was baffled. I was floored by it. I loved Spirited Away, and I still do. And I thought, nothing can be better than that, right? I don't think this must be his best movie. And so I saw Princess Mononoke, and I was like, holy shit, that was the best thing ever. And I fell in love with it, and ever since then I've loved almost everything Miyazaki makes. The only movie he's made that I haven't seen yet is Castle Cagliostro, Lupin the Third, his first movie. I haven't seen that yet. I plan on seeing that eventually, but no rush. It's funny also that I almost had the same sort of thought with Kiki. It's I had this back catalog of Miyazaki movies I had to see, and I just sort of threw Kiki aside for a while because it's a witch living in a town. It felt so unepic. The thing that makes Princess Mononoke such a magnificent movie is its scope. It has the bombastic music, which is probably the best. What is his name? Joe Hisashi, the best music he has made for Miyazaki, and I feel like the balance and the coloring and the world in general is perfect. I guess I will just maybe explain Princess Mononoke as a perfect film for what it's trying to do. And the thing was, Kiki's Delivery Service, and I know this little recap is supposed to be about Princess Mononoke, but again, I don't really want to give away too much, because basically all I can say about it is it's beautifully drawn. It is an incredibly compelling story with compelling characters. Even though this was the Japanese version, I actually prefer watching. This is the only anime I prefer watching it with the English dub, because it was before I realized that you should probably watch it in Japanese, and it has a great voice cast either way. The American version with the Minnie Driver as not the antagonist, but she is sort of one of the antagonistic characters. Lady Eboshi. You have Claire Danes, who is a perfect Mononoke, like San, the wolf girl, and Billy Crudup, who does a pretty good job as the main character Ashitaka. But again, just to get all the greats out of the way, fantastically drawn and animated, fantastic music, a great acting, either language, and just a great cast. It's a fantastic movie. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it feels short, even though it has that length to it. It just taps in, and even though if you're a Westerner coming into this and you don't really understand, like you may be a little afraid of it almost because it has all these demons and shit, but the movie's very easily accessible, as almost everything Miyazaki makes. But what I wanted to say about Kiki is that Kiki's Delivery Service was one of those movies that, just because it was so different, directly, there were no demons or shit, directly, attached to it. Spirited Away had demons. The main thing was about a demon bathhouse. So I thought I could sort of see a connection between these two movies. Kiki felt so far off from what all the other Miyazaki movies I'd seen were, that I was kind of afraid. That and Porco Rosso, which is a movie I just saw a couple of months, probably a month and a half ago. Again, just because I had preconceived notions about what the movie would be. But I loved Kiki's Delivery Service, what it is, and therefore I think it's a perfect complementary piece to Princess Mononoke. But I don't even know why I'm talking about Princess Mononoke, because it's not like it's out in a worldwide release. It's just that the Swedish Film Institute has been taking old Miyazaki movies and throwing them out in the theaters every year. I think Kiki was 2 years ago or something. And I've been waiting for Princess Mononoke, just like I'm waiting for the Princess Mononoke and Kiki's Delivery Service Blu-rays to come out, because when they do, day one purchases, because can't wait to see these two in 1080p. So good. That's really all I want to say about that. It's a masterpiece of animation. And it's one of, I think, 3 animes that's in the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, along with Spirited Away. Oh, 4. There are, as far as I know, 4 animes in that book. There is Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Grave of the Fireflies, all fantastic, all 5s. And then Akira, which I guess is a 5 too. It's amazing. Those are the 5, anything you want to take anything away from this? There are 4 amazing movies that you should watch, and of course there are probably thousands of more animes you should watch. I have a shelf of animes, and I haven't really even seen half of them, because I feel like I have to be in a special mood to watch an anime. Basically, I have to be in the mood to read my way through a movie, since I don't want to see it with the English language version, because I have the original English dub of Akira. I have a version that has the new dub too. But the original is so hilariously awful. I have it on UMD. I have it on a PSP movie, and fuck, that is awful. It is the worst thing ever. It's Kaneda sounds like Cam Clark, Leonardo from the original Ninja Turtles, and it's fucking hideous to hear him. No, Tetsuo, get away! And it didn't even have a language, you couldn't even change it. It just has that language track, and you're stuck with it. And it's horrible. I think that closes my Mononoke discussion. So I'm going to focus on the other 2 movies I saw. Tintin and In Time. And I'm going to say it right away so people can get it out of the way, just with how much they're going to hate me for saying this. I enjoyed In Time more than Tintin. I will immediately, before anyone says anything, I will immediately say Tintin is about 100 times like more competently made and better than In Time. In Time is a dumbass movie, but then again, Tintin is a dumbass movie too. The thing here, which I guess a lot of people, and I usually try to keep the stance that you should judge a film on its own merits, not on what like the creative team is, the studio, producers, or the screenwriter. You should try and just like see the movie for what the movie is on its own merits, but that can't always work. For example, like why is Cars 2? When I made my Cars 2 review earlier this year, I pointed out, why is Cars 2 bad? What makes it so disappointing? And it's not just that it's a bad sequel, because it's not, it's a harmless sequel. No, the reason why it sucks so much is because it comes from such a creative team. It comes from Pixar, the people that have made such heartwarming, and in some cases like Up and Toy Story 3, heart-wrenching stories. They have made animation into an art form, like a Western animation, into a true art form. Not, like I guess it's always been an art form, but not an art form that almost anyone can appreciate, no matter what their age is. I, of course, know people that can't, but I have people say that Up is a bad movie. Those people deserve to be shot. Maybe not, because they're like the few people I actually enjoy working with. But, yeah. You get what I'm saying. They took it a step further. They made computer animation a thing, first of all, and have continued to lead on what computer animation is supposed to be. But what I'm saying is, that's why Cars 2 sucked, and Cars, the original, was also mediocre, is because of the fact that it came from a creative team that we expected more from. That's why Tintin isn't good. Is because Tintin is a bland movie that just happens to have a technical aspect to it that is amazing. The whole motion capture thing for this film that has made it into it's made by Wingnut Studio, it's with Wingnut, Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg. Like, they have the entire, Andy Serkis is on board, so you know he knows this mocap thing. The mocap thing that made Gollum possible, made King Kong possible, and Andy Serkis was there. You know, he played Caesar in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He was in Heavenly Sword, the video game, as like one of the creative people behind the mocap of that game. He was also the main character and mocap director of Enslaved, which was one of the best games of it must have been last year. One of the best games of last year, which no one bought, but it was still an amazing game. So the creative team always seem to know how to make this mocap stuff work, and it is amazing. This movie's a technical achievement. I would almost say to the point where it actually rivals Avatar in how brilliantly made it's done. But it has no heart. And I know if anyone who ever worked on this movie heard me say that, they'd probably kick my ass and say, "We worked our asses off. We love Tintin." And I had a friend, when I came out of the movie, I texted him and said that, "Yo, I didn't like this movie. I should have watched Star Wars Empire Strikes Back with you guys, but I went to see Tintin instead." And like, you can't judge it on the comic merits of like the 50-year-old comics. And I said, "Yeah, I know how I'm usually like that. I'm usually the guy that knows the story. I'm reading the Hunger Games book so I can compare it to the movie when the movie comes out. I like being that fucking pretentious asshole who knows the source material by the time the movie comes out." Or at least I did, until I realized how much less you enjoy the movie by doing that. But I just told him, I have never read Tintin in my life, probably like most people that go to see this stuff. Tintin is not that much of a known quantity in the United States, as far as I understood. And I think he's more known here than he is in the United States, at least if you just take it like percentage of population that are familiar with the character. But what I'm saying is, I just told him, I belong to the masses that this movie's made for. I should be able to enjoy this. But the movie, I think maybe I'm biased because I read, being led, because I read reviews before, or I at least had my mom speak out reviews, because she doesn't understand that I don't want to really know. Maybe I like to see the score, but I don't want to know the exact details of what people are annoyed by. But I found out with Tintin that pretty much every single critic, except for like one or two exceptions, thought the biggest problem with Tintin was the fact that once the movie starts, like it takes about 30 minutes to get its plot going, and then it never stops. Action, 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 witty banter, action. And it's not even good witty banter. It's stupid witty banter with a drunkard and a stupid juvenile reporter. And that was what ruined everything for me. Maybe, and of course I had people telling me by the end of it that that's what Tintin is. But I'll say, ironically, the friend who was talking about how I can't judge Tintin on what the books did 50 years ago, he actually said the same thing when we saw 300 together. He said, well, that's how it was, sort of, and that's how the comic was. And I said, well, you know what? If that's how it worked, except some of the supernatural elements were tuned down, of course, and if that's what the comic was like, I wouldn't like the comic, and it wasn't a strong enough story to make a movie out of. And that's how I feel about this. Apparently they crammed together three different Tintin stories to make this movie. At least that's what my friends claimed. And I said when we came out of the theater, you're going to hate me for saying this. But when I was sitting there watching this movie, which sort of just like, we gotta go here, we gotta do this, we gotta go do that, then we gotta do this, then we gotta go there, then we gotta do that. It made me feel like it was Last Airbender. And they looked at me like appalled. Like, what the fuck are you saying? I said, I know, it's nowhere near as horrible as Last Airbender. I'm going to say right away, when I gave this movie a score on a website, I gave it 3 out of 5. It is good. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, and it is not even close to being, and not even close to my top 10 of my favorite movies of his. It's nowhere near the Indiana Jones movies. I would say I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a better movie than this one, because at least that one has plot development spread out through the action sequences at the end. Maybe to some extent they're not good plot developments, but at least stuff changes. It's not like it's just a stupid joke and then we keep running with it. No, at least there is the scene in the quicksand, which is horrible, but at least the conclusion that Marion tells Indy that Mutt is his son. There is some sort of development there. This movie doesn't have that. I guess it has some, but it's so not lighthearted, but it's so light and so small and inconsequential to the grand scale of things, it doesn't really affect the characters, and that just annoys me. So what am I supposed to say except for the fact that it is an amazing achievement, and I think everyone should see it, either when it comes out on Blu-ray or in the theater. I guess here you only have the option of seeing it in 3D. The 3D was pretty good, but I still think Captain America is the best 3D I've seen all year. But yeah, it's just the technical aspect that impressed me. The movie itself didn't impress me at all. It felt really, really rushed. Like, they were just running from place to place, and it just like, stop, you're not impressing me anymore. You've gone too long without really showing these characters. I don't know Tintin, I don't know Captain Haddock. The one character here I know is Snowy, and that's because Snowy's development is pretty much, he's a dog. He's a dog with granted, he's an over-intelligent dog who can do stuff that no normal dog can do, but yeah, he's a dog. I know him as a character because that's all there is to him. So yeah, this movie disappointed me as a non-Tintin fan, because I thought that maybe it could at least give me some sort of insight into what it means to be a Tintin fan, and I don't get it. Then we come to the third release, the third movie I saw, which is In Time, the new sci-fi thriller starring Amanda Seyfried and Justin Timberlake. Oh. One of the things that can be hilarious to watch is a dumb movie that thinks it's clever. I think the clearest, like the most recent clear thing that just comes off the top of my head is Sucker Punch. I explained it to a girl I know, like just 2 days ago, that Sucker Punch is Inception's horny 14-year-old brother. A movie that has the whole dream within a dream within a dream thing going on, trying to make it look new and refreshing, and also trying to show you cool action sequences with really sexy girls in them. And it succeeds at that, but the movie's really stupid still, even though it's trying not to be. It's trying to have a dual identity as the stupid movie, but also have an intelligent twist to it, which it falls flat on its ass trying to attempt. And In Time sort of feels like that too. It's an enjoyable movie, but it's really, really dumb. And it's honestly, I think the problem with this movie is it doesn't explain itself well enough. It feels like the director had an idea he wanted to run with, but he wasn't smart enough to figure out how to explain its possibility. Basically, I knew I was going to be pissed off at this movie to a certain extent, like what, a minute and a half into it, because it begins with Justin Timberlake narrating, and this is not going to be a spoiler. I'm not going to spoil this movie to any grand scale. I just need to explain this movie a little bit more than the others, because unlike Tintin, where it's such a simple flaw as there's too much action, not enough talking, and Princess Mononoke, where I can just say how great everything is, I want to explain why this movie doesn't work that well. Basically, the movie begins with a narration for Justin Timberlake's character trying to set up this world before they show us this world. And he says something along the lines of, it's hard to know where it began. We don't have time to reflect on stuff like that, so I don't even know if anyone knows where it began. And I just knew right away, oh, so that's the line we get, instead of them actually explaining how come everyone has a fucking counter on their goddamn right forearm. And of course that's true. You never get an explanation at all. And I was sitting there through the entire movie thinking that, well, it basically becomes a Bonnie and Clyde story where Amanda Seyfried and Justin Timberlake hook up, and as they're having sex and stealing time, they're trying to fix this broken system. And this movie feels so fucking... This movie is so fucking stupid because it thinks it's being symbolic, but it seems to think it's clever in its symbolism, and it's not. What symbolism is more obvious than having money and time be the same thing? This movie's symbolism can literally be said with a friggin' known sentence. Time equals money. And that is not smart. It's not clever in the least. In fact, it's downright stupid and lazy. And that's what this movie is. Stupid and lazy. So basically what it is Justin Timberlake lives in a slum where the people have to work really, really hard to get money, which is of course time. The timer on their arm shows how many days, how many years, days, hours, minutes, seconds they have left to live. And what happens is they show that, oh, the prices go up, people have to work harder, and people die they just fall over dead. No one even reacts to it anymore because, well, they're so used to it. Olivia Wilde plays Justin Timberlake's mom, just to set up how, I like that, because when I first saw when Justin Timberlake and Olivia Wilde met and was like, hey mom, I'm like, what the oh, right, of course, no one ages over 25. That's the other thing, no one ages over 25. Everyone stays at 25, so I'd be this horrible fucking mess of a person for the rest of my life. Amanda Seyfried even points that out at one point. It's like, yeah, when I turned 25 and my clock started going, I looked myself in the mirror and was like, God, is this what I'm going to look like for the rest of my life? He's like, oh shit, well, Amanda Seyfried, you could look a whole lot worse than you do. If I had a girl that looked like you for the rest of eternity, or however long we have time left on our fucking forearms, I'd be set for life. But yeah, this movie's filled with just like trying to have deep thoughts on stuff like that, like what it means to have time and all this stuff, and it's so stupid. And the other stupid thing is how they keep throwing in anything, like any sentence in modern society that has anything to do with time, they try to use. What I mean by that is there's how people gamble in this world is of course they gamble money, which is time. So they sit at a poker table and they have these little metal prongs or something sticking under the table. So you shove in your arm under the table, and it takes away time onto the grand counter. And early on in the film, they're just strong-arming each other. And what strong-arming is basically, it's, arm wrestling, but instead of arm wrestling, you hold each other like this, and you just push each other's counters. It's like tug of war, but with your hands. So they tug their time back and forth. And Justin Timberlake walks into a bar where two guys are sitting there tug-of-warring with their arms, and of course they're like, "Hey, Will, what are you doing?" He's like, "I don't have time to gamble." And I'm like, he did not really just say that. I don't have time to get, like, time, do you get it? It's like the fucking director who also wrote the screenplay is sitting there trying to bash us over the head with, "Do you get what I'm saying? Time equals money, motherfucker." And I'm like, oh god, this idiot doesn't understand that he's not being clever. And yes, I'm saying it again, this movie did not feel as long as Tintin. That's the only thing I'm basing my entire argument on it like being, it's actually like I think 3 minutes longer than Tintin, and it felt shorter than Tintin, and not because Tintin's a worse movie, I already covered that. It's because this movie kept me engaged. It kept my head going. I kept, just like with Abduction felt like it was an hour long, even though it was like closer to 2. Reason why, it was a terrible movie, but I was sitting there thinking throughout it. Tintin, I just shut off my brain and looked at the pretty pictures and thought, can't this be over with so I can go do something else? I could have gone and seen Attack the Block, and I really would have wanted to do that. Even though I've seen Attack the Block 5 times already, I would have loved to see it in the theater, and I'm going to see it in the theater. But to get back to In Time, I don't really want to give too much away because I don't, like, for those of you who really want to see this amazing movie, there's also scenes that really establish for me. I really like Justin Timberlake as an actor, but only in the sense of him being a comedic character or maybe an action-driven actor. Never a dramatic actor. I'm sorry, Justin, but there's a scene where he has to cry, and it is terrible. I was sitting there, I was like, and I knew, like, oh God, Justin, I'm sorry. I can never take that. I can never take you seriously at crying or anything like that. Lonely Island member, sure. Friends with Benefits. Even in Friends with Benefits, there are scenes there where he's not crying. There's nothing crying in Friends with Benefits. But there are scenes where he's supposed to be brooding and emotionally, like, troubled. And even that I didn't buy. And this takes it to a whole new level of, like, oh my god, this sucks. But yeah, the problem with this movie is that it's too dumb to see that it's not smart. It's too busy trying to be smart to realize how stupid it is. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of like that girl in high school who thought she had more substance than she really had. And somehow, in her attempt to try and hide the fact she didn't have any substance, tries to actually understand the jokes people are making about her not having any substance, because she thinks somehow pretending to get those jokes makes her have substance. So yeah, it's kind of like making fun of a crippled kid in high school, sort of. Also, the guy the thing is, Justin Timberlake's character gets a time donation at first, so he can get out of the ghetto and see what the real, see the high society, and see how unfair the world is. And the funny thing is, the guy that gives him this extra time is the same actor that played Bryce Larkin in Chuck. Bryce Larkin is the guy in Chuck who gives Chuck the intersect in the first place, the thing that Chuck has implanted in his brain that gives him all the information from the government, and it's hilarious. I'm like, is this just this actor's role? To be the mysterious guy that gives people gifts and fucks up their lives? Because you know what? I would love to have that job. Hey, I'm the guy that's gonna give you whatever the hell you need to do whatever you need to do. Oh, you say you need a magic beaver that can send you across space? I can get you one of those. I got one in my back pocket. Here you go. I would love to have that fucking role. The guy that gives people shit. So this random gift guy. I'll give you my time. I'll give you information. I'll give you flying space beaver. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I should stop this right now. So, yeah, to summarize everything. Princess Mononoke is not out in the theater in probably any other country in the world except Sweden right now. But it is out on DVD. It's been out for a very long time. Buy it. 2. Yeah, Tintin. Worth to see in the theater because it is so amazingly beautiful, and I almost feel like at the end of it, the last couple of action sequences are spectacular, even though the problem is this movie expects me to suspend my disbelief so much that it annoys me, because everything is so well synchronized. It feels like that would not happen, that would not happen. Like, you can believe that things, like random things would happen for so long, but when random occurrences happen in such great detail, so everything works out. So like if things just happen like a millisecond later, everyone would die. When that happens for like 5 minutes straight, it gets to the point where I'm like, that's really beautiful, but it's so fucking stupid, I can't really even take it seriously in any way at all. And even in stupid slapstick like animated adventures, you can take something seriously, and I couldn't do that with this. But yeah, still worth seeing because of the technical achievements, and it made me hope that now that they've set up some sort of like the whole ground story, how these characters met, maybe in the next movie they can actually take a little more liberties away from the source material and develop Haddock and Tintin as characters, because that would be really interesting to see. And also I really like the actors that portray these characters. They're great. And I mentioned Attack the Block. I couldn't go see Attack the Block instead of Tintin, which is ironic because the screenplay for Tintin is written by partly Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish, the people that wrote the screenplay for Attack the Block, and Joe Cornish directed Attack the Block. So yeah, I like the creative team, all of them. I love Steven Spielberg when he's at his best, which sadly has been lacking in the last couple of years. And Peter Jackson is a really great filmmaker, so I love everyone involved with that movie. I just didn't really like the movie. Even though I'm recommending it with a weak recommendation. And then In Time, a movie that if you just want to spend some time thinking about how stupid a movie can be, In Time's your cup of tea. Nowhere near as bad as some of the worst movies I've seen this year. There's no abduction, nothing like that. It has at least competent actors in the leading roles, especially Amanda Seyfried, even though she has a terrible wig that I don't understand how anyone could ask me to think was her real hair. It's still a movie that can get you can waste some time with that. And yeah, those are the 3 movies. I hope to return with whatever new comes out, and I will be doing a Arkham City review eventually. And I apologize in advance for probably calling the game Arkham Asylum several times, because me differentiating those titles is not working out, even though I love the first game and I love the second game. Yeah, on Wednesday Uncharted 3 comes out, and that is going to be an experience which will probably end up being a video as well. Because 2 years ago, my entire game of the year, fight, was between these 2 games, Uncharted 2 and Batman Arkham Asylum, and I'm pretty sure that this year will probably end up being Batman Arkham City and Uncharted 3, dueling out for which game is the best. Anyway, that's this video. I gotta go watch a horror movie before Halloween is officially gone, and I have to take off my orange shirt for a whole year because this shirt is so ugly. You can't see this from here, but I can't wear it any other time during the year because it's ugly. Yeah. Good night, people. Have a good one.